Right, okay, here we got Emma. We've been working together over the last 3 months, and she's very kindly said that she will go over some of her struggles, where she was before working with us, what she was struggling with, her frustrations, and then kind of like go into some of the breakthroughs, the change she started to see with not just weight on the scales. It's more than that. It's more like kind of lifestyle, health markers, and we'll go from there. So Emma, first of all, thank you very much for getting on the call and doing this for us. So yeah,
Pleasure.
kind of like, where were you before working with us? What were you struggling with? Where were you stuck?
Yeah. So I guess I'm quite unique in a sense that I ditched dieting about 3 years ago. And by that, I mean, I just rebelled against like going on a diet, a restrictive diet, and sort of went the other way, if you like. So kind of just let anything go. And with that came a bit of weight gain, as you might expect, but it was more about the kind of psychological breakup of that diet mentality, that all or nothing.
Yeah.
So really where I got to was this place where I didn't want to be told what to eat and put on a meal plan and be told to track macros or any of that kind of diet kind of stuff that I knew before. But I knew I needed to sort of refocus, become more mindful again of what I was eating, and just get some help with that, as well as get me back in the gym, because I'd been so inconsistent with my training. And even though I've got a dog and I walk every day, I felt like that wasn't enough. And I was also working with a knee injury, so I knew I wanted support to train around that. So that's where I was when I came to you.
Cool. And then what does success look like to you? What was the main goal that we were working towards?
Yeah, so for me, it was really around my energy. So I knew that if I improved the quality of foods and like just kind of got the balance right, then I would find more energy that way. I knew I would get more energy from sort of training and feeling a bit fitter and maybe shifting some weight, although that wasn't the primary goal for me, which is again a kind of unique, I think. And yeah, for me, I was also struggling at the time, I didn't mention that before, with my energy. So energy really low, motivation quite low as well. Kind of no surprises this year with 2020 being the way it was, and gyms being shut and sort of being stuck at home and all that kind of thing. So for me, it was really around seeing an improvement in my energy and motivation levels. Yeah,
sure. And that's quite a unique thing, really. Well, we don't see as much of that, because usually what we go for is like, okay, here's the program, this is what we feel is best for you, and we'll have discussions around that, making sure that's okay for you. And it will probably involve the gym program, and wholesale changes around nutrition. But with you, we knew from the start that probably wasn't going to be the best way forward. Sticking you in a gym where you're already like really busy, you have your own business, you're tired already, saying to you, Emma, you're going to go and train in the gym and I want you to give it your all, probably wasn't the best way forwards. And I think this is good for people to hear, because sometimes sticking you in a gym, low calories, just isn't going to do you any favors.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you want to go into kind of like what we did decide to do and what was kind of like really supportive to you.
Yeah, so I mean, I came to you and I was like, yeah, I want to get back in the gym because I love lifting weights. And you were like, that's cool, we can do that. And it quickly became apparent that the energy wasn't there. So what I loved was the fact that you were able to sort of help me find or get creative with finding other solutions that were going to work for me. And it was like coming back to stripping it back and seeing what works for me, even if that's my walking works for me, so let's just do some more steps on a couple of days a week. And actually I remembered through working with you that I love swimming. And actually I get so much more out of being in the pool and the water, and just like switching off from counting lengths even. But just like literally getting out of my head, being in the water, like even getting some creativity coming towards me like that. I remembered that through working with you, whereas I wouldn't have necessarily said, oh, I need to add a swim to my training. So I loved how from the start you kind of challenged me to like chill out a bit about things.
Sure.
And even though I knew I didn't want to go back on a diet and I didn't want to do some like restrictive thing that was over the top, I obviously still had some of that programming and conditioning and expectations around that being the only way. So you were really like, I can only say you were kind of chill about it. And it's like, we don't have to do that. We don't have to do it that way. Let's find a way for you. And it's just like, it's been so such a relief to actually, even in such a short space of time, find something that is sustainable, that's enjoyable, and has actually, like, I'm so much more motivated to get some more steps under my belt or on my Fitbit and go for a swim or two a week when the gyms are open, when the pools are open, because I'm more likely to do it because I enjoy it, and it's stuff that actually gives me energy rather than takes it from me, which is what the gym would have done if I'd have tried to go back in and do anything hardcore there.
Yeah, I think that's really refreshing for people to hear, because their idea is like, well, I suppose I've got to get back in the gym, or I suppose I've got to start, prepping all my meals for the week, or, I suppose I've got to do loads of cardio. It's like, well, if you feel that way about things, and it's going to be a drain on you physically and mentally, that it's not going to work. It's not going to last. So it's really important that we find like where you're currently at. And I'm always talking about this, like through all my content and stuff with other clients. It's like, let's find out where you're at, what works best for you at this moment in time. And it's almost giving you the platform, because I suppose going into the new year, if you can maintain what we set out to do, is, and gain more energy, be happier with your routine, have balance, at some point you're going to be like, I really want to get in the gym.
Definitely.
Yeah, and I think people really need to hear that, so that's cool. And I mean, with the nutritional side as well, like, you can go into this, but there was no restriction there, was there at all?
No, none. And that was really important to me, because it's why I've resisted going to someone for so long. But obviously like resonated with what you were talking about online. So I was kind of keen to explore whether that would work. But it was like such a lovely, again, it was kind of like chill in terms of like the approach. It's the only way I can kind of describe it. So open to like just exploring, and it's like, it's not about like tracking macros or calories or anything, but it's like, okay, when was the last time you tracked something? Let's just track it for a few days. Let's just get a reminder as to where you were. And I was cool with that. And I think for me, a big part of it with the food is the accountability. So having someone that's going to ask me every week, well, how are you doing, like on the food side of things? And it's like, each week it was like we could just hone in a little bit more and say, well, actually, we've got a really good breakfast going now. And I can remember early on, it was like, I like my shake for my breakfast and I don't want to change that. And it's like, okay, we'll have your shake, and then maybe we have like 2 smaller breakfasts, like a shake and something later on. And I was like, that works, because sometimes my shake, I'm hungry by 11 o'clock. And it's like, that's okay, we'll have another meal at 11 o'clock. It's like, no big deal. Nothing was like a big deal. So that was really good. And then for me, I always struggled with lunches. So being at home all day, it's just like a lazy lunch would be like something with bread, or usually a bagel or a sandwich or something. And even that, it was like you took the shame out of that. It's like, it's kind of like, so what if you do have a sandwich?
Exactly.
And it's kind of like, oh yeah, okay, so take the guilt out of what is seemingly bad. And I think that's the thing, is when you've been in diet culture for so many years, you have the good and the bad foods, and anything that's bread or pasta or anything like that is seemingly bad.
Anything
so you kind of
basically.
basically anything you enjoy. So there was never any like, you shouldn't be eating that, you shouldn't be eating that, or you should be eating this. It was just like, okay, well, let's let's try bringing in some structure and bringing in some preparation and bringing in some planning, and like, but in like really bite-sized chunks that build out over the week. So I think it's just those tiny little tweaks that have helped me feel better about my choices and put more sort of foresight into how I choose, and then actually recognizing that I don't have a bad diet, because we cook from scratch in the evenings, and when we did track my calories, you know, it wasn't shocking, and actually I remember you saying, well, let's go for a couple of days where we have more calories, and I was like, oh, okay. So it was kind of like, just, even though I know this stuff, and that was the other thing, is you recognize that I do know this stuff, but sometimes when we know it, we don't do it, and we need to, even though we can give the best advice to other people, we need someone to like reflect back what we know to us. So that was good for me.
Yeah, and that's very, very empowering for a lot of women, because like you say, from the whole diet culture thing, it's kind of like restrict when it comes to food. It comes to do more with it, with exercise, whatever that is. And it's just like you're locked into that idea that that's how it needs to be, and it just simply isn't. We need to dig into the individual and see where they're currently at, you know. So that's very empowering, you know. And like you said, like, you know, a lot of this stuff, and like, it's so important when you have a coach, because it's very easy to deviate and go, well, I'll try this as well, and I'll try this, and I'll change this. And when you have a coach, I find that that coach just gives you that kind of reassurance to go, no, we're all good. Let's give ourselves another week. 9 times out of 10, by the time you get to the end of that extra week, like, you've saw that next push, you've saw that next bit of progress.
Yeah, definitely. And it's just it is just the baby steps. Is so important, but it's almost like, I can't believe we've had like 3 months, because in doing those little tweaks every week, we've achieved so much. Even though it's gone really quick, and it feels at the moment that you're only doing something little, like a slight little tweak, so it adds up.
So what are those wins that you've started to see now? What are those changes? You know, and we're not just talking about on a body, you know, a body shape or fat loss and all that kind of stuff. We're looking at the whole picture. We're looking at like the stuff that people don't see.
Yeah. So I guess I've implemented like a stretch routine into my evenings. So this is something I used to do when I did used to train, and I just didn't do anything. So from a mobility point of view, I just, like, you encouraged me to do more yoga or stretchy type things. I actually don't love like a yoga flow, but I like sitting in yin yoga poses, like the stretchy ones where you just like really relax into it. And you were like, cool, let's do some more of that. And that's ended up in me having this regular stretch routine back in the evening. So if we do sit down and watch TV, I've got my roller out, or I'm just stretching, and that's been super helpful in terms of my knee, strengthening my knee, which was an issue for me when we first started working together. So obviously increasing my steps on a few days a week, was just more aware of kind of muscle tension and stuff. So that's sort of counteracted that, and actually my knee is in a much better place. Energy wise, like, certainly I'm more aware now of those choices around lunch and how they're going to affect me in the afternoon. And I think when we first started, I was napping in the afternoon, and I haven't napped for the last 5 or 6 weeks, I would say. So that's a good sign to me that I'm feeling more energized through the day and not getting that slump. So that's been huge for me, because that was my number one goal. And just being more active. But like, I found that I love being in the water, and that swim to me is like giving me, like, it's motivating me. I'm getting creative in the pool. Like, I'm not counting lengths. I'm like getting ideas and stuff like that. So that's been good. And to get out and do 15,000 steps rather than my usual 10 has been like a nice little challenge that, you know, I can say, should we go for a longer walk today, rather than just go out on the same kind of dog walk every single day, kind of mix it up. We go different places because I know we're going to go further.
Yeah.
So it's got us out exploring a bit more, which has been helpful with the lockdown. So yeah, I think they're my main wins. And also I have like this, like a bit of a refreshed mindset around how I approach the new year. So I know we're just building on a solid foundation now. And it's kind of more of the same, build it out, baby steps. And I know that will support me with my kind of new year goals of wanting just to get a bit fitter and probably shift some weight now. So, but that was never the original kind of focus, which I think has helped.
Cool. Yeah, definitely. No, it's really refreshing to hear that, and because like most people, it's you've gone on about it, but it's all about, you know, the look. It's about the drop in weight. It's about, you know, looking as good as you can. All this, and yeah, I mean, like that's nice, but I think people just overlook these underlining things that are holding them back and making them feel a particular way. So it's very refreshing to hear you talk about those things, because yeah, moving into 2021, you will have the foundation to start to eke more out and start to go, okay, let's push this, or let's start to go down, you know, down this way and then see where that takes me. So yeah, it's really, really, really important. What would you say then to anyone that is kind of thinking about starting something like we do at the Strong Life Club, but thinks they're not in a great place? Like a lot of people think they have to be at a certain level of fitness to start something, or they might just not think that it's right for them. Just have a lot of questions around. What would you say to anyone like that?
I would just say, like, it doesn't matter where you're starting. If you don't know what to do, or you're at your end of your tether because you feel like you've tried everything and nothing works, and you know stuff, but perhaps you don't do it, you don't do what you know you're meant to do, then reach out and get some help, because you don't have to do it alone. It doesn't matter where you're starting. I think the great thing about you and in your client only group, it's very clear that you've got people at all different levels, and not everyone's in the gym, not everyone's a runner. Some people are runners, some people are training on the weights, other people like myself aren't even going to the gym. So there's like, you have the ability, like the thing I loved about you is you met me where I was at, and I think that's what, if people are sitting there on the fence worried about whether John's right for you, then just pick up the phone, have that conversation, because I think you are very good at meeting people where they're at, and then like helping them ease in and adjust on the way, and find what feels good for them. So I would say go for it, like jump right in. And there's no better time than at the end of a year, especially like the year we've had. I'm sure there are people sat there feeling like they haven't made the most out of their eating plans or their movement this year. So I think start the year as you mean to go on, and get some help. Yeah, definitely.
Brilliant. Okay, thanks for that, Emma. That's fantastic, and it's just nice to hear that, and know that we've had a positive effect on someone's well-being, someone's health, you know, and creating a structure that works best for you. So that's great, and thank you very much for your hard work.
Thank you so much. Like, I can't thank you enough. It's been absolute pleasure working with you, and yeah, I'm looking forward to staying in touch and seeing where you go next. So thank you so much.
Cool. Cheers, Emma.